Now, in the black community, always we've thought that he was black, and so Count T. Cullen wrote the poem, Simon of Cyrene Speaks. They only put the cross on me because my skin was black. Well, there's no proof. He comes from Cyrene, and Cyrene is located over here in North Africa. But just because somebody is from North Africa doesn't mean that they were black. He could have been black or otherwise, but tradition has it that he was. When we come to Acts chapter 8, you've got verses 26 through 38, the story of the Ethiopian eunuch, who is the treasurer of Queen Kandake, who's been all the way up to Jerusalem to worship. It so happened that last Sunday I preached a sermon in my church on this man, and the title of my sermon was The Source of Joyous Living. As you read that story, this man, living 1,500 miles from Jerusalem, had gone all the way to Jerusalem to worship. And on his way back home, he's reading the 53rd chapter of the book of Isaiah. And as he's reading, Philip the evangelist gets in the chariot with him and asks him, do you understand what you're reading? And the man says, how can I understand unless I have someone to instruct me? And he asks, is the prophet speaking of himself, or is he speaking of somebody else? And he's reading those words, he was wounded for our transgression, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed, and so on. You've read the 53rd chapter of Isaiah. And the Ethiopian is asking, is the prophet speaking about himself or about somebody else? And Philip says he's speaking about Jesus. And then Philip tells him the story of Jesus. And he asks the man, can you believe? And the man believes with all his heart. And he asks to be baptized. And after he's baptized, the story is that Philip went on his way, and the Ethiopian eunuch went on his way rejoicing. He had gone to Jerusalem and he had not found joy. He was reading his Bible on the way back home, still seeking happiness. And when Philip told him the story of Jesus, he found the joy. There is peace in my soul for which long I've sought since Jesus came into my heart. Well, that's the story of the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts chapter 8. And then in Acts chapter 13:1, you read about a black man who is with the apostles and the teachers up here at Antioch in Syria, where the followers of Jesus were first called Christians, and his name is Simeon Niger. Simeon the black man. Well, now that gives you some idea of black people in the Bible going all the way back to Abraham and coming up through the book of Acts. Black people and personalities in and of the Bible. So we're now entertain any comments, criticisms, questions, or whatever you may have to raise.
Doc, it looks like the 750 times that Egypt is mentioned in the Bible and Ethiopia is mentioned, it seems as though that the book is really written about the African continent. If Egypt and Ethiopia is mentioned, and Egypt, Ethiopia on the continent of Africa. Those two countries are mentioned more than any other countries in the Bible.
Well, at least Egypt is. And when you realize that at one time the Ethiopians were ruling Egypt, as in the book of Isaiah, when you say Egypt, you're also saying Ethiopia. That is true. Egypt is referred to more than any other country, even than the land of Canaan. Quite so. And another thing, you realize that the Hebrews, according to the book of Exodus and also Kings, were in Egypt for more than 400 years and were laid out by Moses. And I've insisted, you see, that Moses and his family was black. I went through that last week. So that you're dealing with black folks all along. Moses' family was a black family not because he had married a Cushite woman, but because Moses' family is of Nubian black ancestry. So again, you could say in a sense that the Hebrews and the Hebrews' religion was African. Any other observations, comments? And you don't have to agree with me.
In talking about the Hebrews, I know one of the guys, Doc Ben, has said that there is the Hebrews are Jews with an older heritage from Ethiopia than the Hebrew Jews that we see now.
Yes, all right. What is he talking about? How many of you are familiar with Dr. Yusuf Ben Yochanan? The star authorities in the area, and along with myself, and we will be meeting in Dallas the 28th, 29th, and 30th of this month, dealing with a lot of this. Now, Dr. Ben is a native Ethiopian, a Falasha. Now, the Falashas are these black Jews that were in modern Ethiopia, going all the way back at least to 586 BC, when Judah was destroyed. Now, Dr. Ben's contention is, now incidentally again, and I didn't know what had happened until this week. I was reading a book that Dr. Ben has put out, and it has to do with the fight between white and black Jews. And he wrote the book because Jesse Jackson had apologized for referring to Town, and then Farrakhan had made some kind of apology. You see, Farrakhan is Muslim, Jesse is Christian, and Dr. Ben has forsaken his Jewish faith. But anyway, he's got a chip on his shoulder. But Dr. Ben is showing that neither Jesse nor Farrakhan needed to apologize for calling these white Jews Jaime and Town, New York.